Good morning. Go ahead and make sure you have a strap or a block. Begin making your way to your mat. Finding a comfortable seated position. And thanks for bearing with me on the video quality for the next couple days. So just taking a moment to center. Beginning to connect with your breath. Maybe you want to just scoop a little bit of flesh out from under your sit bones. Find a little bit deeper grounding, spreading across the hips. And as we sit here, let's go ahead and begin by activating the core. So draw your belly button up and in. Allow your shoulders to drop down away from your ears, extending the crown up towards the sky. And connecting with that breath. Maybe for the first few breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. One more deep breath in through the nose. And then sighing this one out. Go ahead and move your right leg forward. You're going to take your left foot in your right hand, beginning to bring that shin up towards parallel with the chest. Go ahead and support behind that thigh. With the left hand. And then you might begin to rock back and forth, beginning to open up and lubricate in the hip joint there, keeping that foot flexed, protecting that knee joint. And then maybe if it's available to you, you could take that foot in to your elbow crease and just cradle that shin, drawing the chest forward, continuing to pull that shin towards parallel with your shoulders. And then rocking again. If this is not available to you today, you can just continue to hold your foot in your hand. And for the last couple breaths, really just drawing that chest in towards the shin, shin towards the chest. Deep breath into that hip. And on your exhale, beginning to gently release. And setting up for the other side. Taking that right foot in the left hand, getting a nice flex in the foot there, and beginning to draw that shin up to parallel with the chest. And beginning to open up the hip, drawing the knee sideways, back and forth across the chest. You can use a hand for support if needed, or support the back of the leg. And if it's available to you, maybe drawing that foot into that elbow crease. You can take a little wider stance with that bottom foot if you need for support. Just breathing into the back of the hip. And continuing to draw that chest forward. And seeing if you can find some release. Releasing some of that tension. One more deep inhale in. And on your exhale, gently release. Continuing to move into the hips today. Go ahead and take your feet nice and wide, a good deal wider than hips distance. Coming up onto the heels, supporting behind you with your hands, pressing that chest forward. We're just going to begin to drop both knees over to one direction and then the other. Continuing to wake up that hip joints. Beginning to re-expand our range of motion. And just go as far as you can. Your knee might not come to the floor. That is okay. Keeping the feet flexed, protecting those knees. Just a few more times. On your next inhale, coming up to center, grabbing behind the thighs and drawing those heels in. We're going to make our way on to our backs, and this is where, if you have a strap, scarf, belt available, go ahead and have that nearby. Coming all the way down onto the back, we're just going to start with a nice figure four. So taking that left ankle, crossing it over the right thigh, just below the knee. On an inhale, drawing that knee up and grasping behind the thigh, or if you're feeling a little more open today, maybe in front of the shin. Being sure to keep that top foot flexed. Again, we really want to draw that stretch, that release into the hip, keeping it out of the knee joint. If you feel any tugging in the knee, you can release out a little bit, as far as you need to. Just breathing here. Beginning to deepen the breath, releasing any tension in the jaw, making sure you're not clenching, releasing around the eyes, and then go ahead and release that leg down, switching your cross and grabbing the leg. In here, from this pose, you also want your shoulders to be able to rest against the mat. So if holding in front of the shin is pulling your shoulders up off the mat or your tailbone up off the mat, go ahead and back out a little bit. Breathing here. Again, releasing in the jaw, relaxing the belly, taking a deep breath into that hip. And exhale, release down. Go ahead and draw your legs out nice and long. And for just a moment, we can stretch our arms out long, pressing the toes forward. Feeling a nice stretch all across our front body. And drawing the arms back in. The sole of the left foot comes to the mat. If you have a strap, belt, scarf, go ahead and hook the ball of that right foot and begin to press it up towards the ceiling. You can keep a nice micro bend in the knee, gently pressing out through the heel. If you don't have a strap or block, you can grab behind the thigh. And you can get the same effect by really pressing out through that heel, drawing the toes back towards your nose. And if you begin to find a little bit more opening, maybe you continue to draw that leg up. And taking both straps into the right hand, beginning to open that right leg over to the right. If you don't have a strap, just supporting the right hand behind the right thigh. And only open so far that you can keep that left hip planted on the mat. Maybe you want to put your hand there to remind your hip to stay grounded. Breathing into that inner thigh. Maybe you play a little bit with the point of the toes. Maybe you kind of point the toes towards the ground. Changes the stretch a little bit. On your next inhale, coming up through center, switching the straps over to the left hand. And gently dropping over towards the left. Again, really drawing those toes back towards your nose. Breathing into the IT band, back of the hip, maybe even into your calf. Inhale up through center, bending that knee, releasing the strap, and allowing that right leg to come to the mat. Bringing the left foot to the mat, and then hooking or just extending and holding behind the thigh, depending on what's available to you today. To breathe into the back of the leg here. Feeling all your face muscles relax. Forehead relaxes, belly relaxed, pressing out through the heel. Maybe you begin to find some opening, drawing that toe a little bit more up towards the nose. And then switching both straps into the left hand. Begin opening that left foot out to the left. Right hip staying grounded onto the mat. Maybe you point the toes down a little bit towards the mat. See if you get a slightly different stretch there in the inner thigh, hip flexors, inner groin. Inhale up through center. Exhale, switching hands, dropping that left foot over to the right. Again, really flexing those toes. Pressing out through the heel. Breathing into any place of tightness or resistance. On your next inhale, coming up through center, bending the knee, releasing the strap, and releasing that left foot to meet the right. From here, we're going to make our way onto our belly. So go ahead and do that any way that feels good to you. I might just roll a couple times to massage the back. And come up to seated. So as you make your way onto your belly, go ahead and make a pillow with your hands. And resting the head for just a moment. I'm going to begin by lifting that right heel off the ground. Top of the left foot presses into the mat. And go ahead and release your right hand, grabbing onto that right foot or ankle
If it's available to you, then you could flex the foot, either one. And we're going to begin to press that foot into that hand into the foot. You might begin to lift the head up into half bow. Should feel a nice stretch in the hip flexor along the front of that thigh. Begin to draw that knee in towards midline. Make sure it's not flailing out, and continue to press the foot into the hand. A couple more breaths here. And release all the way back down onto your belly. Inhaling that left foot up, grabbing it with the left hand, beginning to raise just your head and chest up, pressing that foot into the hand, pulling that hand into the foot, pressing that bottom foot, that right foot down into the mat, and drawing your knee in towards midline. Make sure it's not flailing out. A few more breaths here. And exhale, release. All the way back down, resting your head on your hands. From here, go ahead and place your hands under your shoulders, pressing your hips up and back, kind of into all fours. And then we're going to set up for a couple options of another kind of inner groin hip stretch. So you may start by just taking your right leg with a bent knee, 90-degree bend, out to the right. Left leg long behind you. Then begin to make your way onto the mat. Starting to see if you can get both hips to make contact with the mat. If you can't yet, you're feeling a nice deep stretch in that inner thigh. That's where we want to be. Placing your palms on the mat. Or if this is really intense, you can make your way closer to the mat. That'll make it a little bit less intense. Maybe you're feeling really good here today. Maybe you want to add on by straightening that right leg out to the right. Just taking a few more breaths wherever you are. If you've chosen to straighten your leg, go ahead and begin to rebend it. And then we're going to press into the hands, bending that left leg, and then preparing to switch. So from all fours, go ahead and take that left knee out to the left at a 90-degree bend. Begin to straighten that right leg out behind you. Maybe you come down onto your elbows. And everybody just take a few breaths here before deciding whether you want to straighten that left leg or stay right where you are. If you've chosen to straighten that leg, go ahead and rebend the left leg, beginning to press up and back. As you come to your mat, bring the big toes together, knees at least as wide as the mat, pressing your hips back, drawing the arms out long, allowing the forehead to come to the mat. Balasana or child's pose. Just taking a few breaths to release in the lower back here. With I'm going to bring our first centering thought in. With every breath, I feel myself relaxing. With every breath, I feel myself relaxing. So beginning to make your way back onto all fours. Go ahead and tuck those toes under. Press your hips up and back. Down dog. Keeping a nice bend in the knees. Rolling those armpits in, shoulders out, spreading across the back. Pressing firmly into all four corners of each hand and all 10 fingertips. Begin to encourage those heels towards the mat. Continuing to press those hips up and back. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to go ahead and inhale that right leg up. Exhale, placing it through, flow lunge. Go ahead and drop that back knee onto the mat and the top of the foot. Beginning to press those hips forward towards the mat. Maybe you stay here. Maybe for just a breath, you inhale up, Anjaneyasana. Maybe for a breath or two, you take it one step further, lift that back foot off the mat. Maybe you grab the left foot with the left hand. And releasing that foot, drawing the arm up. Placing your hands back on the mat, tucking those back toes under, shifting your hips up and back, releasing that foot, down dog. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, step through, placing that back knee and foot. Beginning to press those hips down towards the mat. Maybe you stay here for the entirety of this next series, continuing on to wherever feels good for you. Inhaling, maybe you come arms up. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you inhale that back leg up. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you reach back, grab that right foot with your right hand. And gently releasing. If you chose to follow along, exhale, hands to mat, tucking those back toes under, pressing up, releasing that foot, down dog. One deep inhale here. Exhale through the mouth, tongue out. And dropping the knees to the mat. We're going to make our way all the way onto our backs. Beautiful work, you guys. Coming down for our final twist before Shavasana. So the word for today, for the December challenge, is release. So as we enter into our final release, go ahead and just take your feet so the outside edges of the feet touch the outside edges of your mat. And we're just going to gently drop our knees to one side and then the other. Maybe you have your hands out to the side, maybe you have them on your upper belly. Inhaling up, exhale, dropping the knees. Inhaling up, exhale, dropping the knees. And one more time each side. Inhaling up. Beautiful work today. Exhale, drop. Thank you for showing up to your mat. Inhaling up. And final one, exhale, drop. As we come up, go ahead and begin to draw those legs out long.
Allowing the toes to fall outwards, opening the arms, allowing them to fall out away from your sides. Maybe you gently lift the shoulders and tuck the shoulder blades just slightly more under the back, allowing a little deeper opening across the chest. Finding a nice neutral spine, the crown of the head in line with the rest of your spine. And then beginning to release control over your breath. And as you settle into Shavasana, going to add in the final centering thought. So if you begin to find your mind wander, bring it back to, I give myself permission to let go of what no longer serves me. I give myself permission to let go of what no longer serves me. I give myself permission to let go of what no longer serves me. With your next inhale, beginning to awaken yourself back into your body. And taking a moment to maybe stretch out long. As you take this stretch, just beginning to bring the soles of your feet back to the mat. Bending the knees. And in a breath or two, beginning to make your way onto one side or the other. And from fetal position, beginning to press up, allowing the head to come last. And as we join back together where we began class, and seated, bringing the hands of the heart together. And for today, let's maybe just end by creating a little heat as the days get a little cooler. And then once you've built a little bit of heat, taking that heat and grabbing right below the shoulder blades and just gently pressing the hands down the spine, all the way to the hips and out through the knees. And just one more time. And thanking yourself for showing up to your practice, to your mat. Namaste.